were talking about.
It's participatory element.
For me, the problem is the strategy, how we play the game. Because we can't play the game like we've played it before. Okay, we can't play it through slogans, through OD marches, through handing over memorandums, you know. And that's why we try to up our game through being much more sophisticated in saying this is what we want.
So much land, still well-located land, is either lying vacant or being eyed by developers. And it's really high time now that people mobilize around these issues.
We have to rebalance the city, we need to restructure the city, and this does present an important opportunity.
About 25 community organizations across the City of Cape Town and Development Action Group created a forum where we crafted a strategy to take our fight for sustainable human settlements forward. Although we are still formulating ideas, we plan to put our strategy under scrutiny of other stakeholders. In preparation, we researched and debated, then formulated proposals that put access to well-located service land at the center of our future.
So on policy and legislation, when we say policy, it refers to a statement or intent.
What about us? Let's get a percentage for them as well, ready.
Nothing for you without you. We have to consider the area we want to take.
We cannot exclude anybody from this project. Are you prepared to go and live there? Are you qualified to go and live there? We can't just exclude them because their committee members isn't here.
But that's why Ola presented the policies, for us to start preparing the arguments. And Ola would agree with me that having scanned all the policies, there's a lot of evidence to support what we're doing. And so we need to use the language of the planners and the language of the special framework, and I like our proposal in that language.
So it's a very interesting document, but it's full of obfuscations. I mean, it's not very clear at all in terms of how they plan to do things.
How are you going to let other communities
By
networking?
By networking?
Yes.
Government uses us at the end of the day when it comes elections. Then they run around like idiots, promising us this and we fall for the joke. It is our time. Election is 2014. We need to run around with them now. We need to do this from now on, is to run around with them. Because 2014 comes, then they want to run around. It is our time to play now, guys.
As part of the preparation for the summit, 2 international urban development experts were invited on a field trip. We had identified many parcels of land, but we only had time to take them to 3 sites. The first was the Century City Station site. In February 2012, we met for 2 days with colleagues, academics, and officials from Cape Town and other cities.
Now with the Century City site, it's a very well-located site within our urban area. Therefore, we would be increasing the urban population.
Located between Voortrekker Road and the N1 highway, the site benefits from the existing infrastructure. Windermere or Century City Railway Station is on the site. This allows for investment in local economy and therefore increases job opportunities through small businesses.
The site is well located area. It is right about here. This is Century City. So this is Kensington, so it is in the urban community. And as you can see, we have like the Century City site is where we have the rich people that can afford to live on this side.
So which means we have just closed the gap between the rich and the poor by living together. And also what the site also gives us also, we have Montague Gardens, which is an industrial area, which we can have job creation. It is near the N12, and we have the Voortrekker Road. So the transport routes are there. Why we chose this plot was because it is a well-situated plot, and one of our backyarders organizations, which is the Backyarders Organization of Kensington and Factorton, they have brought us the idea of why don't we build on the site.
From where I'm seated, the community is the future. Because once you have a society where development is dominated by politics, then you have a society that will regress. But it's high time that the community should be able to take the bull by its horns and make sure that they are the masters of their own development.
Citywide restructuring could start with this site.
Our experience has taught us that a localized project approach has not reduced spatial and social inequalities, and that is why we want to emphasize the connections between how we use land in different parts of the city. That is why we are advocating a citywide approach. Mulberry Golf Course is another site we visited on our field trip.
This is a very strategic parcel of land. It's not just strategic in terms of its ability to provide housing opportunities to people, but it's quite strategic in terms of a broader vision of the spatial transformation of Cape Town away from an apartheid city. Its location is really one of a kind.
The vision around Mulberry Golf Course was initiated by the 25 community-based organizations across the metropolitan to redevelop the Mulberry Golf Course. The proposal for low-cost and gap market housing was put forward, mixed use, provide low-income earner access to well-located housing, mixed income. The mixed income will then ensure that low-income earners will be able to also access the development at the Mulberry Golf Course. We're looking at the social value of a piece of land against private ownership or private use. And at the moment, that piece of land is owned by government, but it's used for private use. And it's being leased for over 100 years already.
And I think to realize that the city is not here today. Yesterday one guy was here. A lot of people confirmed to come, and then they apologized and that are supporting people, but at the moment they are not here. We don't see any face.
What we want to be thinking about is how we can combine a whole bunch of interest groups, including those present here today, to start claiming a place in regular discussion with the city.
But I think the critical question that you need to address now is how do you build the coalition for change here? How do you build the coalition? Because it's not going to be just like-minded people in the group, in the room, and like me, I think everyone here generally seems to share an aversion to golf. I don't think that that's going to swing it, you know. And that's why I wanted to suggest that you close your eyes, because we need to imagine who those interest groups are. What is it? How can we empathize with the perspective that they might have? And is there truly an underlying conflict, or is there potential to generate win-wins?
Maybe we go and, as a community groups, we go and meet the Pinelands Ratepayers Association, and we have tea and cake, and we have a nice heart-to-heart conversation about, you know, our interests versus their interests, their concerns versus our concerns. Maybe that's what's also required. You know?
And I think the question about environmental debate shouldn't be just an add-on. It cannot be just another. This is a huge opportunity to think about the environmental sustainability of the city, because this is an open area. It provides a huge amount of opportunities.
I think that you're going to run into all sorts of frustrations and constraints. I think we call them project blockages before lunch, when one becomes entirely reliant on public subsidies as the leading edge of these investments. One needs to look at leveraging the power of private action. And in the case of the households that we want to live in that area, mobilizing those households and the financial contributions that they can make, however limited they are, in order to put them at the front of the development process. I think a lot of the problems we have is when we treat poor households as beneficiaries. We just stop treating them as families in need of homes.
Never in the history of this country have we seen such a bold move from an NGO together with this community in identifying a prime land and also making sure that they move forward. I think it will change the spatial form of the city of Cape Town. It will challenge the myth that poor people cannot use the city, stay around the city.
Exploratory discussions were also held with local government.
The way we're doing this process is we're asking those tough questions. There's no short-term solution to the housing crisis. How do we use land as an entry point to restructure our city spatially? How do we use land and housing as a lever to make our cities more efficient and compact? How do we use land and housing as a lever to make our public transport system more efficient? That will allow, poor people to access all kinds of opportunities in the city.
A child that grows up in a developed part of the city has many, many more opportunities than a child that is pushed out into a shack settlement or an RDP housing settlement out on the fringes of the city.
People see land all around them, with the understanding that the land belongs to the city. But we also have developers that was innovative in their thinking. Developers bought huge tracts of land and they're holding on to it because they know it's increasing in value.
Who has determined the price of the land? As I mentioned before, the government itself. I think you in South Africa have to confront an issue which is also, present in many other international situations. Can the rich and the poor live together in the same space in South Africa? Because internationally, you see a lot of opposition to whatever schemes and projects that propose mixed income, of the same area, including justifying segregationist judicial decisions. This event here was spot on when you defined, that you can't separate anymore these two things: the social value of land on the one hand and democratic urban management on the other hand.
It is to say that no one is to blame for what's happening in our country, what's happening in the world, but all of us are responsible. Part of the summit is to also lobby you as our partners in this process. And I invite you to, by the end of today or tomorrow, if you are here, to really think about what role and contribution you can make to what we want to achieve.
Poor households are creating a dignified life for themselves, and they have set sail, even though they know this voyage flows against the tide. The number of communities involved is growing, and if you want to come on board, contact us.